I used to walk in the shade with those blues on parade, but I'm not afraid.
Anytime there's an event at the Grove, I don't want to miss it.
So it's been a great team effort, very challenging, and we've learned a lot. So it's been fun.
Dust at my feet.
I came here today to honor the legacy of Mr. Collins and those who have founded the Collins Center.
On the sunny side of the street.
This is a celebration tonight. It's a celebration acknowledging the statewide recognition of one of our own. It's a celebration of the generosity of our founding chairman. It's a celebration of the legacy of Governor Collins and our recommitment to his ethic of principled leadership. And it is the celebration of the renovation of the Grove, this iconic home where Florida history was written, and with your help, the future of Florida will be determined. I'll leave for Roy the important words that were spoken on this step, but I would just say that courage is a theme in this family, and it's a precious, precious part of our history. Let me introduce our first speaker. We have a short program tonight, but we've got important things that need to be said. Let me introduce Scott Stroh. Scott is the director of the Division of Historic Resources and the State Historic Preservation Officer. It is Scott's heart and soul and energy that is in the restoration of this building, and he's just a great partner and a great public servant. So Scott, where did you go? There you go.
Thank you, Stephen, and thank all of you for being here tonight. This truly is a wonderfully special evening for us all. Before I just make a few very brief remarks, I want to thank our Secretary of State, Kurt S. Browning, who's also here tonight. Without his tremendous leadership and passion for not only the Grove, but the cause of history and culture in Florida, we would have a lot more work to do. So, Secretary Browning, thank you. Deputy Secretary Dawkins is also here. I thank her as well. And just a wonderful opportunity to be here. As my friends and colleagues will note, I'm a big fan and believer in quotes and derive great inspiration from quotes. And one of the quotes that I've been thinking about a lot recently is a quote by Gandhi. And he said, "Be the change you want to be in the world." And as I've thought about my own leadership journey and the leadership journey of our organization and our team, as we have tried to shape a vision for this magical place known as the Grove, I've thought about how our passion is history, our love is museums and culture and ways we can share history and culture with people. But at the end of the day, my calling, our calling, is to use special places like the Grove to change the world. And that vision and that focus has shaped what we want to accomplish at this special place. When I think about the Grove, I think about resonant themes of public service, courage, leadership, integrity, tolerance, peace, and things like entrepreneurialism, and most importantly, perhaps, community and family. So our vision for the Grove is as simple as it is complex: to use this magical, special place, the people and the beauty and the stories and the themes that made this place what it is today, to do nothing short of change the world, achieve meaningful social change, and help inform and educate future generations so that we can strive for a society characterized by the great legacy of Governor Call, Governor Collins, and all those who called this place home. So I thank you for being here tonight. I thank our wonderful partners at the Collins Center, and I thank everybody who has a passion for history and a passion for the Grove. And stay tuned. We have some wonderfully exciting things planned for this place. So we look forward to you coming back. Thank you.
Rod Petrie is the president of the Collins Center for Public Policy. His service to the legal profession, to the families and communities of Florida, and in the national philanthropic arena is simply unparalleled. He is a Green Beret. He served his country in both Korea and in Vietnam. He is a hero to many of us, and as we specifically recognize this evening, Rod is Florida Trend Magazine's 2010 Floridian of the Year. Ladies and gentlemen, Rod Petrie. Can you imagine coming to this great house as a 16-year-old rural hick from Bradenton? I know, if you're from Bradenton, I'm sorry, I apologize. But that's where I was from, and I was a rural hick. Same height, 125, skinny kid, 125 pounds. I came here with Governor Leroy Collins as my invitor and had dinner with a couple of young people who also were involved in some of the things I was involved in. And you can imagine the sense of awe of approaching this great house, this house of such history, and this man I looked up to as the icon of integrity and of justice and of the governor, as he put it, of all the people, not just some of the people. That was my introduction to this house many years ago, 53 years ago. So it's been a place of special meaning to me all these years. I've been back a number of times as I tried to seek the guidance and counsel of Governor Collins and Mary Call Collins, his wonderful, witty, entertaining wife who knew so many stories about so many people, and I'll keep most of those quiet forever. It's a wonderful place, and it is a place that's symbolic of what the Collins Center for Public Policy tries to do. Governor Collins is our namesake. We try to follow the guidelines and the principles by which he lived. As he put it, we should be a place that seeks the unvarnished truth, a nonpartisan search for the unvarnished truth is the commitment that he wanted us to have, the charge he gave to us. We try. We try hard to be the trusted source of good, honest, nonpartisan, independent information presented in ways that people can understand and act on and do good things with. We've been fortunate to have the support of so many people through the years, including our founding chair, whom you're going to meet tonight, Charlie Zwick, and our current chair, Parker Thompson. Parker is one of Florida's preeminent legal personages. He is both a scholar of the law, an interpreter of the law, a practitioner. In areas such as environmental law, particularly protection of the Everglades, in many, many deep-seated and wide and deeply held beliefs, Parker has been a leader of our state in so many ways. He's our current chair. He is leading us to new levels of competence, diversity, enterprise. I'm very happy to be able to welcome Parker Thompson, who's going to introduce our special guest tonight. Parker?
Thank you, Rod. And Steve said that this was a short program, and I guess that means that introductions should be particularly short. But I am really honored to introduce to you Charles Zwick, this was an agricultural place, and Rod described himself as a rural hick. Well, Charlie Zwick was a farm guy who went to the ag school at the University of Connecticut, majored in economics, and took it from there to being the head of the Bureau of Budget in the Johnson administration. That's the Office of Management, OMB, today. He has been on the RAND board for some 27 years. He was the chair of the largest bank in the state of Florida, Southeast Bank. He was the head of the committee that created the state plan. I could go on forever and ever, but most importantly to us today, he was the founding chair back in 1988, almost 25 years ago, of the Collins Center for Public Policy. He has remained involved in it for this entire time, and he is going to make and continue in the future by making a major contribution to the work of the Collins Center. I have the pleasure and honor of introducing Charlie Zwick.
Thank you, Parker. Thank you and good evening. When Parker and Rod said we'd like you to say a few words, I said no, on the basic theory that as you get older you do learn some things. And one thing I've learned over the years is if you have nothing to say, it's probably a good idea to not talk. And so I had nothing, I thought, to say, but they seemed to not accept that. So I thought of two things I can say tonight. One is the honoring of the people that we had intended to honor. Governor Collins, who I knew when he was Deputy Secretary of Commerce when I was Director of OMB in the Johnson administration, and then knew because he was on the board of the Collins Center for a few years when I was chairman. I was the first chairman for 5 years, and then Governor Askew followed me for 5 years, and so on and so forth. A great mind and a great citizen, and he doesn't need any introduction from me. Rod Petrie, you've already heard about. He's a great man. I understood when we started this, we were also going to honor the 1909 Floridian of the Year, Eduardo Padron from Miami-Dade College. And I also understand the reason he isn't here tonight is because he's entertaining somebody named President Obama, who's going to give the commencement address tomorrow at Miami-Dade College, which I think says great things for Eduardo and says great things for the state of Florida. We got great opportunities here. Let me turn then to the Collins Center. There was a number of us in the old days, for those of you who are of that age, there was Sandy Dallenberg, there was there was a whole bunch of us who were walking about, talking about this, and then all of a sudden the opportunity came when Lawton Childs decided to not run for re-election. So we got our first executive director, and we got started. And for any of you who know the history, you will know that it was a tough start. Everything went bad all of a sudden. And so it is, in fact, true that we would not be here tonight if it hadn't been for Rod Petrie. Rod Petrie came on, fought through the problems, and we have today, I think, an institution which does have the distinction of being respected and trusted as a nonpartisan, even-handed organization. And this, I think, is critically important, and I think we're very happy of that. I have been pushing him, and as you might guess, I'm not too quiet in private, to broaden some of their perspectives. And as you did not hear much, I guess, from Steve, on the new program of Our Florida, Our Future, this is a broader perspective of where the state is going. And I think it's critically important at this point in the history of the state that we really take an honest look. And we're talking about a program which will take 5 to 10 years, which means everybody's got to keep attention and not lose sight of the objective, which usually happens. But we want to involve more people into the process of who we are, how we got here, and where can we possibly go, and what are the options. And what was that Gandhi quote you just said, which was very good, which was, be the change you want to be in the world. Be the change, be what you want to be in this world, to simplify. So we're starting out on a very important venture, and it is critical. There are some people who think it's overreach, that we will lose our way along the way. I don't think so. I think we've got the talent in hand to get it started, and if we all keep attention on it and we need some supporters, we need some workers, we need some givers. We need a whole host of things, but at this point in history, I'm sort of proud of the opportunity to make this contribution to the Collins Center and look forward to a program which says we're going to talk to and energize and have a long discussion of my state of Florida, and how I got here and where I would hope it will be going in the future. So tonight is a celebration of that. They've been under work for a year or so, but this is the start of where we are and where we want to go, and we encourage all of you to take part because it is a worthwhile thing, and we are going to make it happen. Thank you very much.
Quick insertion. My friend Charlie Zwick conveniently forgot to announce that his gift to us is $1 million. So thank you, Charlie.
Our final comments tonight come from Roy Collins, the third, a member of our Board of Trustees, a Tampa businessman. All right. The crowd goes wild before I can even, do the introduction. He's a member of our Board of Trustees. He's a Tampa businessman. He's experienced in government and international business and startup companies. He's a graduate of the University of Virginia, and he is a veteran as well. The family's, let me say this is important. The family's legacy of quiet but principled leadership continues. Ladies and gentlemen, Roy Collins.
Welcome to a very special place in my life and in the lives of our family and in the history of this great state we all call home. This may be the only house in existence that has experienced Indians, territorial life, slavery, the struggle for statehood, the Civil War, passage of civil rights legislation, and the emergence of modern Florida. Through it all, the Grove has endured. This is a bittersweet moment for me because I'm flooded by memories of my childhood here with my grandparents and a large extended family. My memories were mostly less dramatic than the home's history. Early morning jogs around the property with my grandfather, throwing the football, watching Atlanta Braves baseball games with him in his office, family weddings, and birthday parades, debating the politics of the day, making sure we all defended our point of view with what we thought was logical reasoning, only to be quickly reminded when it was not. My grandmother was proud that we were all disciplined members of the CCI, shirts included, which stood for the Collins Correctional Institute. I do still have mine, by the way, true. It was a loving reminder to remind our manners and be kind to all. And let's not forget, which I've noticed is still here today, the little M&M man, which still dispenses M&Ms. I remember the 5 years old. Grandmother had her own unique, particular leadership style, simple and direct, just like the architecture of this home. One of my favorite memories will always be my grandparents ringing the comeback bell as we left just to make sure we'd remember to return soon. These are the things I'll always treasure. Although it will no longer be a home base for our family, the Grove is embarking on a new, exciting chapter, one that is also full of hope, promise, and adventure, along with Florida's rich history. It was on these very steps 150 years ago, Richard Keith Call, former territorial governor of Florida and the architect and builder of this home, decried the Florida delegates for seceding from the Union after they proudly marched up here from the Capitol. It was his moment in history to take a stand based upon principles and convictions stating they had opened the gates of hell, even though it was against the tide of popular Southern opinion. 73 years later, another occupant of this house was Governor Leroy Collins. He too had a vision and sense of purpose for tackling the problems that faced him, from racial segregation to education funding, legislative reapportionment, and the environment. It was his steadfast conviction with respect for others and a moral courage, guided by the truth and by his conscience, that helped define his leadership. He was quoted as saying, "I don't have to be reelected, but I do have to live with myself." Just like this home, which was never fully finished, as you can see by the missing balcony in the capitals above the front door, Governor Collins' legacy of leadership is still evolving. That legacy is what brings us here today. In the years before his death, my grandfather had a vision for a nonprofit, nonpartisan public policy center to find solutions to some of Florida's toughest issues with honesty and integrity. Under the leadership of Rod Petrie and the many other trustees who have dedicated their time and talent over the years, my late father and Aunt Jane R.L. included, the Collins Center has strived to uphold the principles maintained by Governor Collins with one goal in mind: to make the state a better place for every Floridian. In his inaugural address, he said, "Government cannot live by taxes alone, or by jobs alone, or even by roads alone. Government must have qualities of the Spirit. Without these qualities, there is no worthwhile leadership, and we grapple and grope in a moral wilderness." My grandfather would be proud of the important issues Rod and his team have addressed over the past 20 years, some of which include voter education, election reform, sustainability, clean water, criminal justice, the impact of offshore energy exploration, and minimizing home foreclosures, among many others. On behalf of the board and the Collins family, we appreciate and are especially grateful for Mr. Zwick for his very generous donation to help further the work of the Collins Center and the Call Collins legacy to future generations. Through a public-private partnership with the state, the Grove will become a center for leadership and public service with historical exhibits, lectures, presentations, and much more. You'll be able to visit my grandfather's basement office just as he left it and get a glimpse into what the home looked like when our family lived here. My grandparents would be very proud to know that this house in which they raised their family and worked so long and hard to preserve will always reflect beautifully the history of the state they love so much. Today is just the beginning of the Groves and the Collins Center's next chapter, and I'm happy you're a part of it. Thank you for coming.
We close tonight. Thank you again for being here. Let us remember this home and the people who lived here and served us so very well. Please stay, enjoy the food, the company. Thank you.